massive earthquake, magnitude 5.4, strikes Croatia, and a strong 4.6 half an hour later. Extensive building damage. We're going to take a look at the map as well. But this comes after a day later after the 5.7 earthquake on the west of Greece, which is basically on the same fault line of the subduction zone. Even though it's many kilometers apart, it seems like they did shake each other. Now, thankfully, there were no casualties from this. There was a teenager, of course, that's critical, but 16 other injuries. Prime Minister Plenković said the 5.4 quake was the largest to hit Zagreb in 140 years. It shook the city, of course, the iconic cathedral. It littered streets with debris, including slabs of concrete which crushed cars. And buildings, there were collapsed buildings, according to Žarko Rasic, head of the Zagreb Emergency Medical Institute. Another miner had been admitted with head injuries from falling parts of a roof when the quake struck 6 kilometers north of the city. And there are those who said it lasted over 10 seconds. One person said that it was the strongest he had ever felt. Soldiers wearing masks had been called in to help clean up the debris. Citizens, of course, as we know, were advised to remain inside their homes while continuing to practice social distancing because of the pandemic. Now, earthquakes, of course, are dangerous, but people still have to be keeping away from each other because of this. So far, Croatia reported at least 254 cases. But the city's cathedral, which was rebuilt after it toppled back in 1880 during an earthquake, had one of its two spines collapse in the quake. Some buildings fell down as people fled apartments, taking to the streets. And as we said, half an hour later was the 4.6. The U.S. Geological Survey said the quake measured 5.4, while the European Mediterranean originally said it was 6.0, and then they reported it as being 5.3, followed by a 5.1, which the USGS says was 4.6. But I'm going to say it's 5.4 and 5.1, half an hour later. And we have not, from the map, we don't show any aftershocks, but we don't know if USGS plots all of them anyway. Now we'll take a look at the maps. Okay, this is the spire with the cathedral of 1880 damage. It was rebuilt after the earthquake of 1880, and you can see that spiral is already down. Okay, I don't know if there's any damage on this, but this one's really gone. And this is our quake area right here. Let's go to our Google Earth. I don't know if it took off the pin, but we'll take a look at yeah, it took off the pins, but I know where they are. Okay, let's go. Unfortunately, it does that. I don't know why it does that, but anyway. Okay. This is our Croatia right there. This is the 5.4 and the 5.1, half an hour later. And we had going back to this, okay. We had the 5.7 in Greece right here across from Corfu and Zakynthos, right there, Corfu, right there. And we'll take a look at the maps so you can see the shaking, what took place. Pulling out. Okay. There we go. Okay, this is the area of the 5.7 that we said. And you can see that. And we're going to take a look at the shaking, that you can see how extensive it was. Let's go to the aerial. And you'll see that unfortunately, they stopped the block right there. But if you were to extrapolate those lines, they would go up to here, okay? And the Zagreb area is right there, Croatia, across from basically up along the Adriatic, top of the Adriatic, right there. And let's go to our 5.4 and the shakeout. The shakeout map, okay, and the aerial. You can see it's basically all the way up to the Alps, and it's really intense. And if you, again, they stopped the block right there, but if you were to extrapolate the edges of that, where would it go? You see what I mean? Maybe, so the Greek one went up to here. This, unfortunately, I would say went all the way up to, they probably jolted each other. But going to the, no, that's not, we don't want the 4.6, we want the bigger one. It's not 4.6, 5.1, but half an hour later, shallow earthquakes, and it's reported fell to the USGS over 1,000 people. And here we go again. An area which is exactly on top of a mountain. Of course, right there, you can see that, that's the mountain right there. That's the mountain right there where we had the earthquake, right in the middle smack of that mountain right there. And it's pretty tall because it's snow covered. Okay, and going to the aerial, it's right on top of that mountain right there that we saw before. Of course, it's the capital, Zagreb, of Croatia. And the details, it's a subduction zone. We should go to the, yes, the faults, so you can have an idea of what's going on there. Okay, there it is, that's Italy right there. And we saw that we had earthquakes around here in Italy. We had this quake here, 5.7, obviously jolted that thing there because that was the day before this one. It was about 27 hours before this quake. It was a Greek earthquake of 5.7. And aftershocks, 5.7 in aftershocks. And that was pretty big. That had an aftershocks of 4.3 as well, as you can see. Okay, and before that we had the earthquakes. They keep taking them off, but the earthquakes in Italy around the volcanic areas. Okay, so the Croatia earthquake right here, up here, at the top of the Adriatic Sea, Croatia. The Mediterranean region seismically active due to the northward convergence of the African plate, right here, pushing into the Eurasian plate along a complex plate boundary. The convergence began about 50 million years ago and was associated with the closure of the Tethys Sea. The modern day remnant of the Tethys Sea is the Mediterranean Sea, right here. The highest rates of seismicity in the Mediterranean region are found along the Hellenic subduction arc, which is right here, of southern Greece, along with the northern Anatolia fault right here of Turkey, western Turkey, and the Calabrian subduction zone of southern Italy, Calabrian zone right here. Local high rates of convergence at the Hellenic subduction arc are 35 millimeters a year. That's pretty fast. Are associated with back arc spreading throughout Greece and western Turkey above the subduction Mediterranean crust. Crustal normal faulting throughout this region is a manifestation of extensional tectonics associated with back arc spreading. The region of the Marmara Sea, which is right here, is a transition zone between its existential regime to the west and the strike subregion North Anatolia Fault to the east. And Eurasian plate, as the Anatolian microplate, is being pushed westward to further accommodate closure of the Mediterranean basin caused by the collision of the African plate and the Arabian plates into southeastern Turkey. Right? African plate and Arabian plate, right? Subduction of the Mediterranean seafloor beneath the Tyrrhenian Sea at the Calabrian subduction zone causes significant zone seismicity around Sicily and southern Italy. So this is where we've had our tremendous amount of seismicity, and they were not small, you know, over 4. And also here in Greece, southern Greece, 4.6. And this one here, 4.4. Turkey around Zakynthos. Not Zakynthos, sorry. The other island, Karpathos. And so you have a lot of 4 plus earthquakes all around this area, which is, of course, volcanic as well. Okay, we have the Santorini volcano, we have the Nisros volcano, we have the Methana volcano here, and, of course, the volcanoes of Italy. So it's pretty active. And North America, North Anatolia Fault, we said. Africa, the active volcanoes are located above intermediate depth earthquakes in the Cyclades of the Aegean Sea. Cyclades are here. And in southern Italy. Okay, the Mediterranean region there's a written record, several centuries long, documenting the pre-instrumental seismicity pre-20th century. Earthquakes have historically caused widespread damage across central and southern Greece, Cyprus, Sicily, Crete, the Nile Delta, Nile of Egypt right there, northern Libya, the Atlas Mountains, North Africa, and the Iberian Peninsula in Spain. In 1903, an 8.2 Kythera earthquake. Kythera is just north of Crete, near Antikythera, you know, the Antikythera device. So, and the 1926 7.8 Rhodes earthquake are the largest instrumentally recorded Mediterranean quakes, both of which are associated with subduction tectonics. So, okay, the latest quakes we had, of course, there were earthquakes that had produced tsunamis on the coast of Portugal and Spain, the big Lisbon earthquake, and an earthquake of about 8 millimeters near Sicily in 1693 also generated a large tsunami that destroyed towns along Sicily's east coast. So that's what's causing those big earthquakes there, and hopefully that'll be the end of it. But it's, earthquakes give rise to more earthquakes. That's what USGS has told us and geologists tell us, because these things are now jolting and they're big enough to bring in more aftershocks. So we have to be very careful. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.